Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Let Feed Africa, the only show that pumps diesel into your soul without hiking the price. I'm your host, Gilbert Drapari, your favorite hysterical tour guide through this continent's chaos. Let's start in Angola, where the government recently increased the fuel price by 33%. And in response, the people increased the protest level by 300%. Yeah, so you increase the price, they raise the feast. Seems fair, right? Yeah. And now, if you're wondering what the fuel subsidy cut means in African terms, let me explain. It's like your mother saying, no more pocket money, and then increases the prices of the food you were supposed to buy with it. Eat air, my child. Eat air, preferably unleaded. And guess who felt it first? The minibus taxi drivers. These guys are the veins of the city. You cut off their fuel and the Luanda catches a stroke. Yeah, they launched the 3-day strike and prices went up by 50%. Yeah, even the Uber drivers like, this is above my surge price and limit. Yeah. One guy reportedly paid 300 kwanzas just to go one neighborhood away. With that price, you should at least get free Wi-Fi, a mint, and a TED Talk on surviving inflation. Let me be clear, there's nothing funny about people losing their lives. There's a deep, heartbreaking injustice in how ordinary people already struggling with high inflation, low wages, and the government that treats empathy like a burnt substance now have to pay more to get to work. The real question is, why do fuel subsidies keep vanishing faster than politicians at question time? The government says it is restructuring the economy, which is politicians speak for, we are broke, and you people will feel it first. They claim subsidies cost 4% of GDP, which is a lot for sure, but have we checked how much is going into luxury convoys, fake seminars, and government retreats to Dubai? I mean, if you cut the fuel subsidy but keep the motorcade, that's like telling the public, sorry, the cake is over, but I still get to eat the icing. Meanwhile, Rwanda residents are stuck walking to work like it's 1905, right? Dodging the riot police, rubber bullets, and the occasional looter with the microwave on his head. This is supposed to be economic reform, not Hunger Game diesel edition. And human rights what? They are not amused either. They accused Angolan police of using excessive force and rubber bullets on peaceful protesters. Yeah, and you know what they say? When all you have is a hammer, every citizen looks like a nail. But credit to where it's due. Angolan people are not backing down. They have announced more protests, more strikes, and possibly more chaos. Yeah, when people say we are tired, they don't mean we want to take a nap. They mean we are done being ignored. This isn't about fuel anymore. This is about dignity, survival, and getting from point A to point B without having to sell your kidney or your kitchen stove. But let's talk about the political silence. Where is Angola's president? Did he disappear into the fuel fume? Or he's quietly practicing the phrase, we hear you cry, but the IMF hears us louder. Because let's be honest, a lot of these subsidy cuts come with strings. World Bank, IMF, economic reforms that looks great on PowerPoint, but kills people in real life. So here we are, Angolans protesting on the street, prices on fire, people dying, and no solution in sight. All because diesel price went up by 100 kwanzas per liter? This is not fuel hiking. This is national identity crisis. Let me end with this. When the price of movement becomes luxury, staying still becomes a resistance. And when people can no longer afford to stay quietly, they will speak. And they will speak loudly, quietly, bravely, and in unison. And government everywhere should know that fuel may run out, but rage, that's a renewable energy. That's our top story, folks. Stick around. We've got more steers, more headlines, and more reminder that this continent is burning. And sometimes the only way to process it is to laugh through the smoke. I'm Gilbert Drapari, and this is the Let's Feed Africa. Don't forget to subscribe. Good evening, folks. We start tonight with some breaking news out of Angola, where authorities have confirmed at least 22 people have been killed in violent protests following a sharp fuel price hike. Yeah, that's a sharp jump from 4 deaths reported just a day earlier. Yeah.
The government of Angola announced that the number of fatalities from violent protests against a fuel price increase had climbed to 22 on Wednesday, up from the previous day's count of 4.
The unrest began after the government decided to slash fuel subsidies. Because apparently the only thing harder to find in Angola than affordable fuel is a government plan that makes sense. The protest, which started in the capital Rwanda, has now spread across multiple provinces. We're talking clashes, looting, and mass arrest. Yeah, the authorities are urging for calm, which is always ironic when you're the one holding the tear gas canisters.
5 vehicles were vandalized. Additionally, some supermarkets and warehouses were looted.
And now, let's be clear, diesel is the bloodline of Angola's economy. Trucks, buses, and even generators depend on it. Cut off subsidies, prices will shoot up, and when prices shoot up, so does everyone's blood pressure. It's like your landlord doubling the rent and then saying, but hey, at least you will appreciate your apartment more. And this isn't just about fuel, it's about the population already struggling with the rising food cost and unemployment. It's like the government just walked into the house and shouted, who wants more problems? I'm sorry, that wasn't called for, sorry. I'm sorry. This looks like people who are shouting this. Alright, anyway, look, I get it, the government needs to make some tough economic decisions. Maybe not the kind that turns your capital city into the set of Mad Max fuel firing. Right now, Angola's vibe, fuel prices high, timbers higher, and fuel tanks empty. Well, except for the police trucks. Those ones, somehow, they don't always run out of fuel. I don't know why. The government says cutting subsidies will save money. Sure, but so does eating instant noodle for a year. And we all know how that ends. The protesters are furious, but the energy minister says this is for long-term stability. Yeah, because nothing says stability like citizens looting petrol stations with their cooking pot. And then they told citizens to remain calm. Oh, thank you. We never thought of that. And what next? Handing out small signs that says, please riot responsibly? You know, we have seen this movie before. Fuel prices hikes, protests, chaos, and suddenly the finance minister is playing Survivor Cabinet Edition. You know, honestly, the way this was handled feels rushed. It's like telling your kids Santa is not real, and then eating their Christmas candies at the same time. But all jokes aside, 22 lives lost is devastating. These were families, children, and futures that shouldn't be erased over policy missteps. Angola needs solutions, dialogue, and yes, affordable fuel, because no one should have to choose between buying a bread and a bus ticket. Here's hoping the Angolan government realizes that stability doesn't come from fear. It comes from trust. And maybe not setting the price of diesel higher than Beyonce's concert tickets. Stay with us. This is the Let's Feed Africa with Gilbert Drapari. We have more coming up, so don't forget to subscribe. In East Africa this week, yet another deadly clash at a border so invisible even Google Map is like, maybe not. Yeah, a deadly firefight broke out along the Uganda-South Sudan border, killing at least 6 soldiers. Yeah, Uganda's military confirmed the shootout, though they didn't mention what sparked it, which in African military terms usually mean someone crossed the line. And by line we mean a bush, a goat, or a river that changed direction last week.
Troops were killed in retaliation after a Ugandan soldier died in the incursion. However, a South Sudanese official claims 5 of their soldiers were killed in what he called a surprise attack. Both countries' militaries have agreed to a ceasefire and promised an investigation into the incident.
And now African borders are wild. They were drawn by Europeans who had never been here. Just ruler, pen, and whiskey, and generations later we're still dying over lines that makes zero sense. In fact, half of our borders were decided like, hey, where's your uncle's mango tree? Yeah, it's there near the anthill. Cool. That's international border. The border region along South Sudan and Uganda has long had tensions. And by tensions, I mean tribal clashes, land disputes, armed patrols, and cows with no passports. And let's be honest, if cows can move more freely than people, maybe cows know something that we don't. Maybe. South Sudanese authorities said the fighting was provoked. Uganda's army says it was a self-defense. Meanwhile, the border villagers are just trying to charge their phones with a smartphone and not get caught into crossfire. But on a serious note, 6 lives lost. 6 families in the morning because of a conflict that probably started over something avoidable. Soldiers are trained to protect the borders, not to die in some ambiguous schemations that benefits nobody. This is not a movie. There is no hero's arc, just grief and questions. And honestly, maybe it's time for regional leaders to stop shaking hands at African Union summits and start actually solving these recurrent tensions. Or better yet, settle these disputes the East African way. 1 flag, 1 referee, and a dance off. And whoever nails it takes that patch of land. No bloodshed, right? Simple. So peace should never be optional, and borders should never be gravesites. And the cows, no matter how fat they are, should never be the reason someone is buried in uniforms. So let's hope this is the last time this stretch of land hears gunshots instead of laughters. I'm Gilbert Drapari, and this has been the Let's Feed Africa. Stay tuned and please do not forget to subscribe. Africa, or should I say Assalamu alaikum Coup edition, because tonight we're heading to Sudan, where political calendar has only 2 seasons: war and comeback attempts. Yes, Sudan's Islamists are apparently plotting a post-war comeback by doing what they always do best, backing the one institution that's always available: the army. Yeah, because if there's one thing that never retires in Sudan, it's the military fatigue. The literal fatigue from all the coups, and then the metaphorical fatigue from all the dramas. Now, for those just tuning in, Sudan is like that WhatsApp group chat that you muted in 2021, but still haven't calmed down. There is a civil war between the army and RSF, the Rapid Support Forces, basically the rebel group that came with its own logo, the cameo fashion lines, and zero chills. And now, in the middle of this chaos, the old Islamist elite is whispering like, hey, you remember us? Like your ex showing up at your wedding, holding a banquet and saying, I always support love. I do. I support love. Sudan's army is now flattering with the Islamists again, because apparently if you're fighting rebels, there is nothing like a bit of old school Syrian astrology to rally the troops. It's like the military said, we have tried democracy, technocrats, peace talks, and now let's try 1989 again and see if that works. These Islamists were pushed out after Omar al-Bashir was overthrown in 2019. But you know the Islamists, they don't really live. They just hang around in comment sections. Talking of comment sections, this reminds me, you really need to subscribe to this channel. Please do. Come on. And now post-coup, they have returned louder, prouder, and still somehow wearing the 1990s suit in a 45-degree heat. This is the part where Sudanese people are like, wait, wasn't this supposed to be a revolution? And then the Islamists are like, technically, yes. But every revolution needs a sequel. And in this one, we are the heroes. Yeah, this is giving the Netflix reboot energy. Sudan, the return of ideologies. Starring the same actors, worst plot, and still somehow fewer human rights. What is ironic though is these Islamists say they are defending Sudan's sovereignty. But when they had the country, they basically rented the country to whoever had cash. Oil deals with China, hosting Osama bin Laden, and chasing journalists like they owed them child support. And now they are back like, we have changed. Yeah, you have changed address from exile to military barracks. Changed. Come on. So to recap, Sudan's Islamists are making a post-war comeback by supporting the army. The same army that is still trying to win the war. It started with the support from the same ideology that cracked the country the first time. If this was a Marvel movie, it would be called Sudan Civil War 2. Fish and camels that nobody asked for. That's cool. It would be cool though. With a lot of actions and stuff. But you know what? If you were Sudanese, the real superpower would be having a civilian government that lasts longer than 6 months. Now, that is heroic. Yeah. I'm Gilbert Drapari, and this has been the Let's Feed Africa. Sudan, may your leaders learn to love peace more than they love comebacks. Good night, and remember, if the military and the Islamists make peace, it's probably just half time. Take care and don't forget to subscribe.